Hello and welcome to episode 112 of Gamers and Lost Spark podcast. I'm your host Antony Chesson, and joining me this week, it's the other Spark on the pod. He's back by popular demand. He's the Dark Knight of the Dales. It's the Gaming Yorkshire Pudding, Mr. Steve Carter.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm not too bad, sir. Not too bad. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very good, thank you. Thanks for having me again.
It's good to have you back. It's good to have you back in rotation. So, how's your week been?
It's been good. It's been good. Not too much going on at the minute. Kind of in a bit of a lull between games at the moment. So not a lot's been going on in terms of games, but been catching up with a couple of other bits in the meantime. So I think when we last spoke, when I was last on, I think I was saying I was about partway through season 2 of Stranger Things 2.
Yes,
that's now done, dusted.
Ooh.
Massive void in my my television schedule now, trying to fill it. But yeah, it kind of you'd set the tone and the benchmark, saying it just got better than season 1, and it really does. And I mentioned it last time when I love a cliffhanger, and the first season leaves you a nice cliffhanger.
Yes. And
this one does the exact same. You think, again, you don't want to go into spoiler territory, but again, it leaves you just that nagging little feeling that season 3 is going to happen. It's kind of come out now that it's not going to happen until like 2019, which is so far away. But yeah, loved that. Loved every minute of it. And I'm probably going to go back and watch season 1 and 2 again, because it's just such good watching. It's so good. So since then, I've been trying to fill that void.
Right. And what are you filling it with? Are you is there anything else that's on your hit list?
Yeah, so I've started watching The Punisher. So I think I'm about 3 episodes into that. So I've kind of only just starting, only sort of scratching the surface with it, and I'm enjoying what I'm seeing so far.
It's good, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I know there's kind of a bit of crossover between that and Daredevil, isn't there?
Mm-hmm.
I've watched Daredevil season 1, but not season 2, so I haven't seen the bit where he has a part to play in that. But I'm liking what I'm seeing so far. It's a different sort of Marvel, because he's sort of an anti-hero, isn't he? He's not really a superhero, so he's kind of got this sort of dark backstory, and he's killing people left, right, and centre, and this sort of dark military background. So yeah, and I think John Bernthal, the guy who plays the Punisher, I think Frank Castle is a really good lead. I think he's a really good fit for it. So that's kind of not filling it as much as Stranger Things 2, but in the absence of, it's the best we're gonna get for now. It's been more.
But I find that you can't watch too many of the Punisher, can you? Like It's a fantastic. I think we're about 5 episodes in, and I'm really enjoying it. And you're right. Frank Castle is really dark. He's They used to have these. They used to have a series of books in Marvel called The Dark Knights, and it was like K&I. Dark Knights, and there was Daredevil and Punisher were in that together, and it was always that kind of mature, rated M for mature for Marvel, and but I think they set the tone really well. Yeah, I mean, he is in Daredevil season 2, he plays quite a big role in that, so it's worth a watch, even if it's just like kind of going back, and then you'll know why Karen Page is in it as well, because like Karen Page she popped into like the 2nd episode, didn't she?
Yeah, I've just seen that, and I kind of it's you, so I kind of gathered that must have been the slight crossover there, but that in its own right, Daredevil, I really enjoyed the first series of that, because I'm kind of the bigger characters within the Marvel universe I'm familiar with, but the sort of the side characters like Daredevil, the lesser, like the Punisher, I was quite new to Daredevil, so when I actually watched it, I didn't actually know he was blind to start with.
Right.
So I was like, okay, so that's kind of where, obviously, that's where his hook is. That's why he's kind of a superhero, because obviously he's blind. So that's where he, so that was quite a surprise to me. But yeah, it's what we were talking about last time. It's Netflix with its its Marvel license and franchise, and the strength that Netflix has at the minute. There's just such a variety and such a good or a broad spectrum of things to watch. It's you're not short of things. So like you say, it's something that I wouldn't sit and binge.
No.
It's not something I go, I have to watch the next episode. I have to watch that. Where something like Stranger Things, you have to watch it, and again and again. You're thinking about it all the time. It's it's good in its own right, but not to the point where it's sort of binge material, as it were.
It's quite interesting. This week I was commuting up to Manchester, and I was just flicking through, listening to some podcasts, and I was just flicking through Apple Music. just looking for some stuff, and they have a really good thing which is like For You, where they kind of look at stuff you play. It's almost like the Genius list that they used to do. And I listened to a rapper, or as I called him when I got home, an urban poet, and my wife Nicola just laughed way too hard. And so there's a rapper called Megaran. And Megaran he's like an urban poet, because his lyrics are fantastic, and he normally does it around Mega Man, Castlevania, he normally kind of does it around, normally does his raps around that. But there was this new Megaran album that had come out called Strangers, and it had the Stranger Things text, the font that they use. So I was like, oh, I'll just have a look at that. And then when I looked, it was only 12 minutes long, but each song is about each one of the guys. So it starts with like track 1 is Strangers, and then there's Dustin, Lucas, there's all of the guys there, Hopper. It finishes with 11 and Hopper. And it's just, like I say, it's a 12-minute album, but it's awesome. I just kept all the way from, I must have been, I don't know, Stoke-on-Trent, 45 minutes out from Manchester. I just kept listening, and bear in mind it was only 12 minutes long. I just kept looping this album and just kind of kept looping it round, and it was fantastic. So it's Megaran, Strangers is the album, but it's really cool, and I love listening. I like his voice. His voice is very soothing as a rapper. He's got this very kind of soothing voice, especially when he starts talking about Mega Man and stuff like that. It's just very cool. But I really enjoyed this Strangers album. It was really cool.
What does he actually rap or read poems about, shall we say? What is it, just describing the characters, or does it describe the story, or...
No, that's what he's doing. He's basically just kind of, he's almost like, he starts off like, there's some kind of sound from the TV show as well, some sound clips. So you do get some of the kids kind of like talking about, well, especially when the Dustin, when he was like, what have you got in your thing? And he starts going through all these sweets when they're preparing to go, and he talks about chocolate pudding. But then he just raps about each one of them. And it's really funny because like Will, because Will, spoiler alert, right on the first one, but if you haven't seen that, when Will gets abducted in the very first episode, that's pretty much the rap. The rap is like 30 seconds long. It's like, my name is Will, I got abducted in the first episode, and that was just like, and it was just, I was just listening to this album, and it was just really filling me with joy. It was just such a great album.
Well, it says something if you like you say, 45 minutes out of Manchester and you listen to it on loop and it's 12 minutes long. That's a good 4 times. That's a good 4 repeats. So
it must have, because the first time you listen to it, you're just like, oh yeah, this has got some really good beats. And yes, I did say that. It's got some really good beats. And
got some
this
beats.
and this guy's voice is really cool. But on the second listen, you start really kind of picking up the lyrics and what he's saying, and you're like, oh yes. And it's just, it's so cool. It's so cool. I'll put a link in the show notes, because it's, like I say, I got it for free on like Apple Music, but I think you can purchase it as well. But it's really cool. It's called Strangers by Megaran. So I was just really cool.
Maybe we'll have to get him to do one about us.
Yes, exactly. Lost
Then
Spark.
do the intro. Yeah, do an intro like it's just him rapping, introducing whoever's coming on. Can you imagine that?
Get him to diss Mario Sunshine. We'll be happy.
Whoa. That's a bit far, I think.
So, have you been doing anything else this week?
No.
Or is that it? Is that you're just preparing for Christmas?
Yeah,
preparing for Christmas.
Yeah, I mean, it's December tomorrow, isn't it?
It is.
And we had the first snow today.
Right.
So I don't know if you had the joys of the snow further down south, but it's getting a bit cold up north at the minute. So it's like the coast was really bad. They've had like quite. I didn't think of. I mean, here in the city centre, around the city, it's not been too bad. But sort of the coast, the north, where it gets a bit higher and a bit colder, it's been quite bad apparently. So yeah, it's getting a bit grim. So like you say, just slowly winding down for Christmas at work as well. So just easing myself in. When it gets to December 1st, I can start thinking about Christmas. Then
yes,
I love Christmas. Don't get me wrong. But when it starts in the middle of November or start of November, it's too soon. It's too soon.
Yes.
And when I used to work in retail, the Christmas songs would start at the start of November. You'd just be dead inside by the time Christmas actually came around. So it's nice. I've been avoiding Christmas because I know they've come on the radio as well when I'm driving. You skip through a few channels and it's like, oh, Heart Christmas. So it's like, no. No. And then you've got Boney M playing. It's like, no, not yet. I refuse to do it just yet. So yeah. Slowly winding down to Christmas at the minute, I think, and then just like I said, just a lull between my games at the minute, just waiting for the next lot from Boomerang to turn up. So
right.
We'll see what delights they're sending out next.
Excellent stuff, superb. For me, it was an eventful week. It was we were talking about it at the end of the last week's pod, where we were talking about the new I Am 8-bit and Rare vinyl that was coming out, the limited edition vinyl. So James and I and Manny on the last pod, we were chatting about that, and so I managed to grab one of those. So I was in work ridiculously early on Friday, and I managed to kind of schedule my meetings around, so I could actually kind of be there for when the pre-orders went. So luckily, I don't know if they've sold out. We put a link in last week's show notes to these I Am 8-bit Rare Viva Pinata soundtracks. So I've bought myself one. So I've got one. I don't think it comes out until second quarter 2018.
Wow.
But I've got one. It gives me time to think about whether I'm going to, get a record player, get a turntable, and then put it into the movie room when we rebuild the movie room in the new year, or if I'm just going to kind of put it up in a frame, but part of me kind of sees this as an entrance, a gateway drug, to getting myself a record player, because there's something about it. I just quite like the idea of getting a record player. I quite like the idea of getting some vinyl. And I went into HMV, which is something I don't normally do, but I went into HMV the other day, and the entire top floor in Tunbridge Wells, the back wall was just full of vinyl. So there was like some really good classic albums, some Beatles albums, Prince, all the kind of, and they're all in vinyl form. And I mean, I was like, and I do have in my storage units that were coming into the house very soon. I have boxes of vinyl. I have old hip hop albums, lots of De La Soul, lots and lots of Prince vinyl, and and my dad has so much vinyl still as well. He has some of the original Beatles and Led Zeppelin, and kind of where I got my music taste from. And it's so there's part of me that's like, I should maybe kind of like buy a record player. And I've been chatting to a couple of guys on Twitter as well, that have been kind of giving me some like, okay, give me your price. What do you want to use it for? What are you plugging it into? So I've kind of given it, and they go, right, okay, this one's a good one for you. And some of them are like reasonably priced, and you can get some really good ones. And I just think it would be quite nice on a shelf, just to put a record on in the movie room and just game away. I quite like the idea of that.
Yeah, well, my dad actually still has a record player. I mean, albeit it doesn't use it much, but like your dad, he's got a lot of old 80s, 90s rock and metal albums and vinyls, which again is, like I'm like you, that's where I got my musical taste from. But there's just something about it, isn't there? About putting a record on, like lifting the lid on the the case or the cabinet, and then putting the needle in, and then just seeing it spin round, and the sound's just so much better than an MP3 or a CD, isn't it? Or, it's just something about it. It's quite, like you say, quite special, and it's good to see in a way that vinyl is coming back.
Yes.
Given the space when we get our house, it'd be like you say, it was something nice to have either in a movie room or in a living room, just a nice sort of vinyl cabinet to have your vinyls out on display. So they're not that badly priced, other than like the reissued vinyls either. So it's, I mean, some of them you see about £15-20, I think is it for an album of vinyl. Which, I mean, granted you can get Spotify for £10 a month, so you've got unlimited music, but just as a sort of a collection thing, it's nice to have, isn't it?
Absolutely. I can definitely see me kind of, like I say, some of the turntables that one of the guys from Twitter, Dominic, thank you very much, sir, where he was like kind of sending me some ideas, and I could definitely see myself kind of ditching all of the digital, all of the Blu-rays and games, and actually start filling that space with vinyl instead, because I'm exactly the same as you. There's something about that, putting the needle on the record, that kind of that sound, that crackle, that there's something about it that I just absolutely love. And also the quality of the sound. I've been in record shops and in kind of like where they've been talking about how sound just kind of almost disappears and just finishes naturally, where on a digital disc or a download it kind of finishes off. And there's all those kind of things I just want to experience, and I kickstarted right at the start of this pod. I think I mentioned it might have been on episode 1 or episode 2. I kickstarted some 3D headphones they're called O6X headphones, and I kickstarted those guys. And I think it's been a long road. We keep saying, we're gonna send them out to all the Kickstart backers now, and then they kind of just keep pushing the timeline forward. But I'm thinking early next year, I think the last update was. So just having that plugged into onto my amp, listening to some music. I just think, I'm getting old now, so that just sounds really good to me, and just go...
the pipe and slippers as well.
Exactly, and then taking my headphones off every now and then, go, they don't make them like this anymore, another
go and turn it down
things.
A little bit because it's too loud.
Oh, yes, and then drinking my Bovril and just like I'm complaining about millennials. It's just like there's something about it that just feels warm and fuzzy, and I just quite like it. So I bought that, which is really cool. And also, I think I was talking about it last week. Nicola and I are off on holiday. We're going to San Francisco for Christmas, and following kind of numerous tweets from yourself and Manny and Matt and James, all of the Lost Spark crew was about NFL. So I was checking through some things to do in San Francisco, and one of them was, go to the NFL and go to the NFL on Christmas Eve. So I was like, I wonder if the 49ers are playing at home. So I clicked on their link, and they were playing against the Jaguars, which, as I've been told by James, is like kind of the Thomas brothers rivals, because James is a San Francisco 49ers fan and Matt is a Jags fan. So I'm going to this like the Thomas Civil War match. So we booked some tickets, but I was really surprised because we got them via a website, which is with the NFL. So we went to the official site, and then it took us off to a Ticketmaster site. And the tickets were, so we got 2 tickets, mid-tier, along the sideline, very much kind of like what it looks like in Madden in NFL 2018 from EA. And so we're in this very kind of mid-tier, and they only cost us like $25 each. So it was like $25 for it was like $50 for 2 tickets for Nick and I, and we're just like, I was just gobsmacked at how cheap those tickets were, because I know kind of in the UK, you just can't get tickets for any sporting event or any live event without them, especially if they get them later. They're always like at an elephantine price. So I was really impressed. I was like, look, they're £25, even if we just stayed for the first half and experience the NFL. I'm sure we're going to stay for the whole match, but even if we just stayed for the first half, it's only $25 each. So we bought them, and we're going to the NFL. So I'm quite excited.
Yeah, $25 is a steal. Like you say, considering sporting events in this country. I mean, I've not been to Wembley to watch the NFL yet. I'm still kind of keeping my hopes up that the Patriots will eventually come to Wembley.
Right.
But I think either next year or maybe the year after, I'm kind of have to jump on board and just go to experience it, because I've never seen an NFL match live. So it's been on Sky Sports, and I've never been to Wembley. So, but $25 each is seems like a real bargain, because I know the ones at Wembley themselves, they can go for silly money. If you're getting a decent seat, and I'd expect them to be more than that. So, but yeah, I love the NFL. I love football. Yeah. I've been a probably a fan for about the last 6-7 years. I've got into it more and more and more. So I'm not I've not been a fan for a long time, but for some people it's boring. Nothing happens. But I think for that price, you have to go and give it a go. You never know. You might find yourself enjoying it. I mean, albeit the Niners will probably get beat with the season they're having.
Oh no!
I don't know if you've sort of checked their record this year, but I think they're 9 for 1, which means the 9 losses for 1 win, I think, something like that. So they're in a bit of dire straits at the minute. So it might be a tricky game for them. But the atmosphere there, you can tell just by watching it on the TV. The atmosphere there is something else. The Americans love a good game of football, so it'll be quite a nice experience for you as well. But are you away for the full Christmas period? Then you full away?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we decided we haven't had a holiday this year, so we just decided to pack ourselves away and go off to San Francisco and Sausalito, which is our kind of favourite place. Sausalito is just like, it's just my happy place. So we're going to go there. Yeah, we booked like I say, NFL is it's like midday, so which is really cool. It's midday on Christmas Eve. Christmas Eve. So we're going to go there. It's what a game's probably about 2 hours long, 2.5 hours.
Less than 4 or 5 hours. Some of them.
Oh, okay, right. Yeah,
okay. Just all the stoppages between play. So you're in it for the long haul. It's not something that's done. It's some can be done on time, but some can't, because there's that many stoppages and breakages in play. Injuries, timeouts, fouls, penalties, that sort of thing. So it can be something that does go on while they have half an hour, I think, normally for half time.
Right. Gives us time to go, because I was looking at the stadium, the food that was available in the stadium. Obviously, that's where I went straight away. We're followed by my bed, and there was pulled pork and barbecue food. I'm like, I'm going to be happy here. This sounds, beer.
Yeah. What more do you want?
Exactly. So we're just gonna because at that point we're spending a couple of days in San Francisco, and then we're going over to Sausalito. So we'll get the ferry over to San Francisco, go to the stadium, and then kind of spend some time there, and then just kind of come back, and then Christmas Day we're going out for a meal, and then kind of coming back to our hotel. So it's just I'm very excited. I'm looking forward to the plane journey as well, because I've got Mario still to roll the credits on, and similar to you when you were saying about watching Stranger Things again, I had a look on the Netflix app on my iPad, and you can download Stranger Things, and I was thinking, especially after listening to Mega Ran, on repeat for 45 minutes, I was thinking about just like downloading like season 1 and season 2, and just sit on the plane, and just like when I'm not playing Mario, or maybe when my Switch is recharging, just to watch Stranger Things or some movies, because that was one thing because every year I always do a 52 movies in that year, and I was doing great guns this year. I think I was up about 37 movies, and that's not counting kind of Star Wars and the ones that are coming out. And then I upgraded my phone to the new iPhone, to the iPhone X, and it's wiped my list that I was doing in Pages. Yeah, so it's there, but I can't click on it. Oh. So I went onto iCloud, and it wasn't on iCloud, and I was just like, looked at the backup, couldn't get a backup, and I think I've lost my 52 movies in 2017, so I might just abandon it this year, because I can't remember every movie that I've seen. So I was thinking, where can I backtrack to see what I've seen, to have a look at and see what movies I've seen, but yeah, I might just abandon it this year and go for next year. So that kind of frees me up not to watch a load of movies on the plane, and just kind of maybe watch Stranger Things.
Yeah. Can you check on Twitter? Do you post every time you go? I mean, surely they can you not, like, I know you're at the cinema all the time. Do they not check you in every time? Can they not say, "Oh, we've seen you so many times this year, Anthony"? When you go to the cinema, when you go to your VIP seat, your same seat every week.
Well, actually, I could do you know what? I could look on Showcase Cinema, because that's where I go to the IMAX. I could probably look at my hashtag 52 movies in 2018 to see if I've got that. You're onto something there, Steve. I hadn't thought about my hashtag.
Could have like rejuvenated this. Could have rescued it.
Yes,
don't abandon it now. Alive. Don't abandon it now. You've done so well.
Oh, it's just so, because I do love that. Because it does push me, even though before we go and see Star Wars 2 weeks from today, even though before we go and see Star Wars we're going to watch Force Awakens again, it does push me to watch new movies, instead of just watching my favourite movies again and again, like the Avengers trailer hit yesterday, and I instantly just wanted to watch Civil War again, like Captain America Civil War, but the 52 movies kind of just goes, no, I'll watch a new movie. I'll watch a movie I haven't seen, because it just kind of stops me just kind of getting stuck in a rut in those movies that I just enjoy watching. But speaking of the Avengers trailer, have you seen it?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I watched it last night, and it's gonna kick off, isn't it? It's gonna kick off big style, and the ending as well.
Yes,
it was going to happen at some point, but to have those two universes mixing there, it's going to be interesting, isn't it? That's going to be.
Really is.
When's it come out? Is it like about April?
May 2018. Yeah, May 2018. I think it's like May the 4th or something like that. But the thing that I love is that it just looks like Thor is like straight out of Thor Ragnarok. He looks like he's straight out of Thor Ragnarok. And have you seen Thor Ragnarok yet?
No, did he have an eye patch?
Yes, he did.
I was going to say, it's like going on Nick Fury, wasn't he?
Yes. Yeah, well spotted. Yeah, I mean it's quite interesting, because at the end of Thor Ragnarok, you do actually, like, one of the after credit scenes, you do just see this ginormous ship appear, and I was like, that's got to be Thanos' ship. It's got to be Thanos' ship, and maybe that is Thanos' ship, and that's why, because he was all looking all charred. Obviously there was the Hulk had fallen through the stairs in Doctor Strange's place in Winchester. So he's obviously, maybe, there was a big space battle before. Thor is rescued by the Guardians of the Galaxy, and the Hulk has fell to Earth and landed in Doctor Strange's house, which is very convenient. Yeah. So, I just thought, holy looks. I mean, visually. I mean, and I will defend it to the hilt. Damn you, Manny and James. The Justice League is a really good movie, and Ben Affleck as Batman is awesome. But looking at that trailer, Marvel just has it right. They have it. I mean, I enjoyed Justice League, and I really did enjoy Justice League, and I want to see it again. But just looking at that trailer filled me with so much joy. That bit where you see them all just kind of running at the screen. Even some characters from Black Panther that we haven't seen yet, and the Hulk in the background. I was just like, oh, it just is so good. It just looks amazing.
Yeah, I mean, even just Guardians 2. I haven't got 4K or anything, but even just on the Blu-ray, that looks incredible. I mean, did they break the record for the most animated like characters or things on scene at one time? Is it?
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think so. I think I saw something like that because
right.
It's such a CGI centric film. I think they broke the record for the most characters or things on scene at one time that were animated. But yeah, like you say, the quality and the visuals on it are just superb. They're just fantastic. So I mean, this is bound to be heavily animated anyway. Given the nature of it, but it's just such an experience. Audio and visual wise, it's just really good. So I'm hoping to get more into sort of going and seeing films in 4K. So starting with Star Wars when it comes out this month, hopefully going and seeing that in 4K, and then something like this, and then when it comes out, Deadpool 2, things like that, start seeing with 4K to actually, or IMAX, should I say, to kind of get a better experience, on the bigger screen and better audio as well. And then hopefully next year when we're in the house, jump into 4K.
Nice. Yeah, I was quite surprised actually. The Black Friday deals happened, in between pods and stuff, and I was really surprised at how cheap entry level 4K TVs were. There were some really good 65, 55 inch TVs. We're going for some and they have HDR10, they have Dolby Vision, some of them. They have 4K HDR, and that's what you need. You need both of those things together. And just seeing some sets for £500-600.
Yeah, it's really cheap now, isn't it?
It's amazing. Yeah, it's absolutely, it was bonkers. So I was really impressed at the deals, because I think since we last spoke, I've been looking for a monitor. So I've been looking for I thought I found one. I thought I found a 40-inch TV that was HDR and 4K, and there is one that exists. It's an LG one, but it's just slightly too big, and it just overlaps the space just a little bit, and Nicola said it looked a bit clunky if I did that, so she poo-pooed that. But so I'm just trying to find. So I need to find a below 40, probably a 39-inch TV would be perfect. But I want 4K HDR. So I've been looking at monitors, like gaming monitors and stuff like that, and again, kind of in Black Friday deals, there were some really affordable monitors that were just available, and it was really impressive.
What's the smallest monitor you can get then that's 4K? What's the minimum? Do it.
I've seen some 32-inch.
Right.
I saw a 27-inch and I saw a 32-inch, and I just want, because I've got a 32-inch TV at the moment, which is the second TV in the movie room is 32.
Yeah.
So I'm looking 36. I'm looking 34. I'm looking somewhere around there. I'd happily go with 32 again.
Yeah.
But I think I've seen one that's 4K and HDR. One was HDR and one was 4K. I guess. Yeah, exactly. And I think I would happily go HDR over 4K probably, especially with the Xbox One X, because that's going to do some upscaling anyway, isn't it?
Yeah. The HDR is more the sort of the quality of the colour, isn't it? The actual pitch quality of that wise. Yeah. So it'd be interesting to see, because when we were on our last house, we've got the big TV in the living room, and my gaming TV, as it were, was 32 inches, and for the size of the room, I felt that was quite a decent size, because I didn't want to get a huge TV, because the viewing distance would be all wrong, because I couldn't sit so far away. So I think if you could get one between that 32 and 40 inch, 4K, if you can get it at that sort of, like say, entry level price between about £400, which they have been, then I think that'll be it'd be silly not to, or it'd be rude not to, wouldn't it? So I mean, we've got Sky Q, so we can have some 4K content through there, through sports. Movies aren't 4K, but you can at least get some sort of sports events through 4K. So it'd be good to see that, and like you say, if and when I get an Xbox One X or a PS4 Pro, there'll be some 4K content through there as well. So
absolutely,
as it gets cheaper, it's worth it, because I remember when I bought my first HD TV, it was a 19-inch TV that was about 350 quid.
Wow.
And when you think about that, it's that was maybe 10 years ago now. That was just about the time when Call of Duty 4 came out.
Wow.
So, that was when we still had, the AV cables that switched from HD, and then they went HDMI on the Xbox 360. So it's going to get cheaper, isn't it, until like 8K or whatever it is that's next comes out. It's going to be somewhat ridiculous, isn't it?
I think the model that I've been looking at has been the Samsung. Some of the Samsungs and LGs, they're the kind of monitors I've been looking at. Like I say, they look good aesthetically. They look nice, so it'd be quite nice, just like so. Yeah, so I think I'm holding off at the moment. But when the movie room hopefully we'll get started again in the new year. We're preparing from the flood, so we'll get started in the new year. So I'm hoping then, there may be different models out. There may be some newer models. There may be smaller TVs, etc. So it's quite cool. Wow. So anyway, let's jump into what we've been playing. You said it's been a slim week, but what have you been playing this week?
So slim pickings. I've sent it back now, but since last we spoke, I've been playing Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle on the Switch. So as I think I touched upon last time, I've finished Mario Odyssey now, so I've rolled the credits on that. My inclination to that's kind of waned a little bit since I've completed it.
Right.
We talked about this a little bit in the WhatsApp we've got going on, and I think Manny and James agreed with me a little bit. That I think there's just too many moons. I think there's just too much.
Right.
My push was to finish the game because I was just enjoying it so much. I just wanted to do more and more and more and more. And don't get me wrong, I love the game. And I finished it, and it's fantastic. I still think it's one of the best games that's come out this year.
Yeah.
But I think there's just too much. There's too much to collect in terms of the moons, and I think. The end game, there's a little bit beyond, not to go into spoiler territory, there's a little bit beyond that, but I think it kind of loses its hook because it actually has to get so many more moons to carry on. So, it's, rather than, saying, no, you only need like another 50, 60 moons to go to the next world, when you finish it, then it's kind of like you need another 250, and then it's like, it's just a little, maybe just depending on how many you've collected through the story, it's maybe just a little bit too much. So I'm dipping in and out. Don't get me wrong, it's not like I've forgotten about it, but I'm only playing it for maybe like half an hour, 40 minutes just to go, flit about some worlds that I've not revisited since I first played them. So, but since then I've played Mario Rabbids Kingdom Battle from Boomerang, rented that, and I enjoyed it. It's not necessarily the game for me, but it's good to see what they're letting people do with the Mario universe, the Mario franchise. So they've let Ubisoft kind of mix it up with Rabbids, which they're not my favourite thing in the world. I think they're kind of a cheap B-grade Minions, as it were. I don't think they've taken off as Ubisoft intended, but the concept's good. It's just it is pretty much Mario does XCOM. So albeit a much more light-hearted fashion. But I enjoyed it. Like I say, I think there's I think given what they've done with it, it's really good. It's really good fan service. To Mario, all the characters are there. The same thing pretty much happens, in terms of you have to rescue Princess Peach, that sort of thing. So, just I don't know. It's just something about it. It's good, but it's just not my thing. I can appreciate it for what it is, but it's just something that I don't feel inclined to complete, as it were. I've played the first two worlds. I don't know how many beyond it, but I enjoyed what I played, but. I kind of got everything out of it that I needed to get out of it just by playing those two worlds. So like I say, which is the reason why I rent most of my games these days, that if it's not a game for me, then I can just stick it back in the post and get another one, which is what I've done, and I'm waiting for the next one to come. Which I think, if I remember something right, when I saw an email today, it's Lego Ninjago movie game that's coming next. So I've not actually seen the movie.
As well?
Have they released it on the Switch?
Yeah, it's out on the Switch. I think, Lego Marvel Heroes 2 and also Ninjago, both of those are available on Switch.
Yeah, is Avengers coming out tomorrow? Is that right? I think there was a delayed launch for that from the PS4 and the Xbox One, wasn't there?
I think you're right. I think you're right.
Tomorrow,
yes.
But no, I don't know which platform it was on. I think it'll be either the Xbox One or the PS4. I don't think I put it on my Switch list. Right. But that's next. I haven't seen the movie, so whether or not it makes much sense without seeing the movie or not is yet to be seen. But that's on its way. I sent Kingdom Hearts back, so again I'm waiting for the next one to come back from there. In between that, I've been playing some original Xbox recently, actually.
Okay.
So last Sunday was, I think I had just pretty much a day to myself. I think Anna had gone to, I can't remember where she'd gone now. She'd gone to spend a day with her sister and her mum, I think. So I just pretty much spent all day just in the house, just catching up on some TV and some games. So she bought me an original Xbox for my birthday because I'd bought a GameCube not long before then because I really wanted to play Super Mario Sunshine, dare I say it, which I think this is where the whole thing stemmed from, the argument started.
It's all your fault.
Yeah, it's my fault. I said, look, I said these are my two sort of consoles from growing up really, as well as the PS2. We've already got a PS2, but my sort of, we had the PS1, but my sort of real era was the GameCube, the Xbox, the PS2, so I was like, look, I want these consoles eventually, so when we move out, in the games room, I've got my new consoles and my old consoles I can just flip between. So she bought me that for my birthday. I've got quite a collection going. But recently, when I went to Sawthumb's Retro Shop in York, I picked up Time Splitters 2 and Time Splitters Future Perfect, and I picked up the GTA double pack while I was in CAX as well. So I started GTA 3, which still a classic game, but God, the controls are horrendous on it. When you're looking back, it's awful. The shooting mechanics just terrible. But surprisingly for a game its age, what must it be now? Maybe 15 years old, maybe something like that.
Must be,
so it must be something like that. Yeah. But for a game that age, it still holds up. And Time Splitters 2 and Future Perfect they're still the same. They're fantastic games, and it's a shame that we're not going to see anything from Radical in terms of Time Splitters anymore, because they're just brilliant arcade shooters for what they are. They're just silly, non-serious, co-op friendly games. That was the sort of the era of the system link, wasn't it? Or getting 4 people on one TV playing, split screen games, and that, I think that was its main hook, wasn't it? With Time Splitters.
Yes.
It had its arcade modes, it had its 4-player modes, and Future Perfect, I think, was one of the first games to kind of get the online play through Xbox Live. So, I think there's been a company trying to make a HD remake of Time Splitters 2 and Future Perfect for a while now.
Oh wow!
They're trying to get the assets because Radical owned the assets, and they're no longer a thing anymore. So if they could do that, I'd play Time Splitters, pretty much every day if I had it on my Xbox or my PS4. So
I do. I always remember Time Splitters being, because I think that was that a launch title for the PlayStation 2. I think it was, wasn't it? I remember.
So. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember picking up my PS2. I remember picking up my PS2 and playing Time Splitters was like one of the launch games that I played, and I remember just kind of going back to a mate's house after kind of picking it up. We kind of just unboxed it together, and for us, it was almost like this is like the evolution of GoldenEye, of playing that four screen, the 4-player split screen, and it was just it was so good. I loved the character models. How does it hold up now? Does it still look okay? Does it look a bit janky?
Yeah, I mean, naturally there's a few jaggedy edges and things, but I find that I just plug the Xbox straight into my TV, and it's a hit. Like I said, it's not 4K, it's a HD TV. It's quite new, and it's one of the few that still has the AV ports in the back, because James mentioned last week he's got the conversion box for his GameCube, which eventually I will be buying, because the big TV will be my main TV for the living room, and if I do get a 4K TV for the games room or something, or an upgraded TV, those AV ports are going to be gone. So, but considering its age, I think the picture quality is fine, even on the HD TV. I mean, the GameCube is a little bit of an issue, because I think if you get the non-official AV cables, it doesn't have the processing or the processor in the cable to kind of help filter their image. So I do have a bit of a converter box for that, but the Xbox I find is fine. It puts it in the the small, is it 4x3? Is it? I think am I getting that right? The picture size. So it is a smaller picture. It doesn't fill the full screen. But
yes,
I find it fine. It's not unplayable, and by the same token, it's perfectly serviceable. So I think I pretty much plugged 4 or 5 hours into the original Xbox when I played it on Sunday. So between those three, I'd had a pretty good day. I couldn't complain.
So that's so cool.
So going a bit retro, but it's nice to go back, I think, every now and again. So it's something to have a HD remake, but when you see a game in its original form for what it was back in the day, I think it's just a nice trip down memory lane for me, when that's kind of my golden age for gaming, as it were, given my youth. Still in my youthful years.
Have you tried any of the original Xbox games on the on the Xbox One. They have a whole load of them at the moment. They have like KOTOR and there's a whole kind of, I think there's about kind of 6 or 7 games at the moment. Have you tried any of those?
No, I haven't, in all honesty. I mean, the ones that are on there at the minute, I don't think are enticing, should we say?
Right, right.
I think it'd be a bit of a disservice if they did. I mean, they're going to bring more out, aren't they? I mean, this is Xbox's kind of, their mission to get gamers back, isn't it? To bring back the early days of the Xbox and the 360 and say that you've got this in this one system and it does everything. Because that's Microsoft's vision at the minute, isn't it? That everything does everything. Yes. So if the Xbox can play original Xbox games, 360 games, new games, then I think that's part of their mission in the future. But if they're the right, the thing is the price. That's the issue, isn't it? When you've got an original Xbox sat at home already, and you can go out, like I think I paid like £3 for Time Splitters 2 and Future Perfect. So it's, and I paid £7 for GTA the double pack for 3 and Vice City. So
yeah,
you'd probably pay £9 for one of them. If you were buying it from the store, which I know you've got it digital, so you can play it anytime. You know what I mean? So yes, you're paying that much money for a reason, but when you can just go get the disc and the original Xbox out and have a nice little nostalgia trip, I think probably the option that most people take. But it'll be interesting to see, like you say, what they do look like, if they do any sort of tinkering with it at all to make it sort of a bit sharper or the images a little bit clearer. It'd be interesting to see, or if it's just a case of literally it's as it would be if you played it on the original box.
Yes. It would be so cool if they actually kind of enabled it so you had a bit of a kind of emulator on there, so you could just take those discs that you bought from CEX and just pop Time Splitters into your Xbox One, and then off it went. But like I say, it's quite nice bringing that big old beast out and hearing it turn on and kind of having, I guess you're playing with a big Duke controller as well.
It doesn't have a Duke. It has one of the the second wave that's a bit smaller. I've never actually had, because we had the Xbox when it first came out. We got the Halo and Midtown Madness double pack,
right,
if my memory serves me rightly. So, but we didn't have the Duke, which I've never actually, I've seen pictures of them, but I've never actually held one, touched one, or played with one. So I know they are beasts. So
yes.
I know they redesigned them for a good reason, which is because they were huge. So I think I'd buy one just to say I've got one more than anything. Just say I've got a bit of gaming history, but it's. It's back of the control with the white and black buttons, when playing Halo, and I think did the white button turn your torch on and the black button change the grenades between plasma and frag grenades, that was the original, like, sort of back and start, the other optional buttons on the, more buttons than you needed. So it's quite good. Yeah, like you said, I just like seeing the it's a huge thing, isn't it, the Xbox? It's massive. It's huge.
It really is. Yeah. I remember having that in kind of one of my very first kind of games room. I remember having that and the GameCube and stuff like that. And it was just huge. And obviously then, you had the cables kind of across the floor because it wasn't a wireless controller. Yeah. It's funny how much, especially kind of me, because I'm a neat freak and I really enjoy kind of no wires now. But it's quite funny like how your gaming setup used to be with all those wires everywhere. And at one point, even because I am that old, had a lead going down to the modem in the living room so I could play online, so I could play Ghost Recon online with a friend, and you had to hold down a button just to talk, and it was almost like the game, it wasn't like it was an aesthetic in the game, it was almost like the Xbox Live needed that, you needed to just hold it down and then start talking. So that's awesome, that's really cool. That gives me kind of a nostalgic pang where I want to kind of maybe get my Xbox out and just have a bit of a play.
Yeah, well, that's it. It's like because when I was younger, the consoles weren't mine; they were my brother's consoles. So as you grew older, he sold them. So like I say, we had the GameCube, we had the Xbox, the PS2, everything. So the 360 was my own first console,
right?
And every console since then has obviously been mine. So it's nice to go back and I've not got them boxed, but to have them and to say that they're mine. I mean, the GameCube cost me 30-40 quid, and the Xbox was about the same, 20-30 quid. So if you're not bothered for them boxed, which for me personally I'm not, you can pick them up for relatively little price. And there's a lot of retro fairs that go on these days. I don't know if it's the same sort of your way, but there's some quite big retro fairs that go on around here, and there's one in March in Doncaster in the Dome, and it's a huge thing. We went this year, and there's so many vendors there. You could. You could spend a fortune there. With the amount of retro games there are, you've no real need to have a current generation console if you went back and spent all time playing them. So it's one thing I have learnt though: no game auto saves. and that's really annoying. So I turned GTA off without remembering that I'd saved, gone back to my safe house, and I had to do about 4 or 5 missions again. I was like,
oh my goodness.
You take things for granted these days, don't you? You know, the autosave and the respawn points and the, it's the cloud saving, that sort of thing. So it's a bit more hardcore, remembering to do things like you say manually, rather than it doing it for you. It's a concept we're not familiar with these days.
No, indeed. So have you been playing anything else?
Animal Crossing, which you touched on last week. I think it had pretty much taken over everyone's lives, including mine in the background as well. So I mentioned this, you sent a tweet out today about the Christmas, I think there's some Christmas outfits, I think, coming.
Absolutely.
Which there has to be. It's Christmas, that they'd be stupid not to. And I said to you, I'd not turned it on for the last couple of days, which... It's because I've been quite busy, but it's one of these things, isn't it? A new game kind of takes over your life for maybe about a week and a half, and then your interest does naturally dip. And wouldn't you scratch the surface of this, which it can't be a full game? It's like I think James touched on it, or is tweeted about recently, is that it forces you into doing things to actually progress, which is kind of you have to do these things, which Animal Crossing's not really about. Normally, the 3DS games, it just lets you, if you want to go fish, go fish. If you want to go, pick fruit off a tree, go pick fruit off a tree. But this is like, well, if you want to progress and you want these guys to come to your camp, you've got to go fetch all these items for them, which, you do that in Animal Crossing, in the normal full game, but you're not forced to do it either.
Yes.
So, it's kind of, the reins are a bit too tight, aren't they? They don't really like I say, they can't, because, it's limited to the mobile, so it can't really let you go off and have all these different little places and areas and worlds, but it's something I'll keep dipping into. By all means, just like I say, just go see what's new. Over Christmas, when they've got they're bound to have some sort of events on out there. Different points of time, in times of year for seasons as well. So it's not a case of that I'm not playing it because it's bad, because it is really addictive, as Animal Crossing is. And then as a mobile solution, it's really good. Like I think you mentioned it last week, is that it's been a few years since the 3DS game came out. And there's bound to be a Switch version, and to kind of keep people interested in it, it's kind of the perfect solution, isn't it? Really, it's like Pokemon Go. Pokemon Go's still a big thing, and that's going to keep people going till we eventually get this whatever Pokemon game it is comes out for the Switch. So and Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon have just come out, so it gives people who don't have a 3DS anymore, or that opportunity to keep it going, doesn't it? So how do you get the Santa hat? How do you get the Santa outfit? That's the big question. How's that a thing?
Well, I mean, that's because I what I do every morning is just kind of like turn it on, have a look at it, do some quick quests, and then then I'm done for the day. And it's quite funny because like last week I think we'd only just started playing it, and we were like, "This is the best thing ever," we're like, let's not pod, let's just play Animal Crossing, and I think that bubble has kind of burst. Especially I think James is kind of like waning, as you were saying. I think he's kind of realised, he's pulled back the curtain a little bit and realised kind of what's there. But for the Santa outfit, so I turned on this morning. And it was like, there was an update first. So I turned on this morning, and then it was like, it's festive season. So they said, you've got all this. So straight away, off the bat, they give you a Santa hat straight away. So I was like, right, put that on. And now you've got to, so what you've got in Animal Crossing is you now have another currency that you'll get randomly, which is candy canes. No. So what you have is you've now got to fit out your camp with this very Christmas theme. So there's all these goals that to do that. So, put on a Santa hat, get some presents, Christmas tree, all of that sort of stuff. So it really is pushing you to do more daily quests. And then so you do your daily quests, and these goals will just be, to kind of deck it out. And so for me, I was like, this is awesome, because I was kind of waning a little bit. I was a bit like you. I was kind of like, yeah, I'm just doing this. I'll just do the morning. Nicola's quite into it. She likes it. She thinks it's good. I think she prefers Stardew, which is, of course, because it's awesome. But I think she just prefers Stardew, but still kind of does the same thing as me, does that little daily challenges. And before she goes off to work, before I go to work, we have a coffee and just kind of, we're just there playing, what are you doing? Just playing a bit of like of Animal Crossing. But yeah, so you're getting... So there's Christmas presents, Christmas tree. These are all for the candy canes, and you get the candy canes for doing the same quest. So you give someone the fruit or the insects or the fish, and then you'll just get this bonus candy cane will appear every now and then. The the place that's at the top, the quarry, that for me that was like, oh, you get 20 candy canes if you can break through to that. So you put out a request out to all your friends, they all pitch in, and then they kind of like break it down. So which is really cool. So at the moment I've started. It's starting to look a bit Christmassy. So I'm quite excited about that. But that's kind of it. That's always for me. I'm just like, right, my goal is to kind of get all of that Christmas stuff, and then once I've done that, I'll probably just again we'll just go, okay, I'll wait for the next seasonal event. It's kind of similar to what you do with a lot of games. It's like Destiny. We as we've talked about on the pod, we did the raid a couple of weeks ago, or even a month ago. We attempted the raid, I should say, not did the raid. We attempted the raid, and I haven't been back to Destiny since that Sunday. But next week, and I know Destiny will be in the news a bit later, but next week we've got the Curse of Osiris, the first DLC. So I'm ready to jump back into Destiny, next week when there's new content. And I think there's a lot of games out there that's going to be like that. Like you say, you play them, you're in that zeitgeist of that game, you play them for a couple of weeks, a month or whatever, and then you just go, okay, when something changes, I'll jump back in. We did it with The Division, we're doing it with Destiny, and the same with Animal Crossing, etc., etc. These games that you can just go, okay, I'm done with that for the moment, and I'll come back to you a bit later. So I think Animal Crossing is going to fall into that category for me. But I enjoyed the week and change that we had of Animal Crossing. I enjoyed it. It's a bit like Pokemon Go as well. I think Pokemon Go lasted the whole summer, and you're right. I think both of these games are adverts for a Switch game. I think I asked the guys last week, it's like, do you think we'll get a Switch game? And because we were so in love with Animal Crossing, we're like, we don't need one. This is it. But I think we do need a proper... Yeah. We need a proper Switch Animal Crossing game now.
Yeah, I mean, it's the perfect platform, isn't it, at the end of the day? Animal Crossing's always been, a portable game, and the Switch is exactly that. It's a hybrid, so to play like you would do on the train or on your TV at home, docked. It's the perfect. And they say with Pokemon, Pokemon's always been on the Game Boy, always portable, and it's if you want a bit of Pokemon, in your house on docked, you can do. Right on the train, again, you can do. So and whether on I don't know if they could make it sort of interactive if you went out like Pokemon Go, go out in the world with your Switch being mobile or not, but it'd be cool if they could. But yeah, it's there has to be, it's the biggest console since the Wii, which it wasn't hard, but given the sales they're going to have to, the year that they've had, albeit not maybe next year, the year after 2019, they're going to have another good year, aren't they? Because looking at like 2019, you're probably going to be looking at maybe some sort of new hardware and some variety from both Microsoft and Sony. We've had the One X this year, but Sony's had the PS4 Pro. They might have something in the pipeline for 2019, so Nintendo's probably going to be looking to up the game, or at least have quite some big hitters by that time. So it'll be interesting. Yeah. Do you
think Sony and Microsoft could play their hand that early? Like 2019 E3 2019 go, here's Xbox One X2.
I think Sony could. I really think Sony could, especially now the X is significantly more powerful than the Pro. They could easily go, all right, well, Xbox had the One X for a year. Here's PS4, here's PS5. And they could easily, now they know that it's possible to put all that power in one box, easily match it. If you think how much technology is going to move in 2 years' time, it's moving at. Who would have thought we'd have had a PC in a console box? What you can get out of the X. 4K gaming, proper 4K gaming in a tiny box. It's incredible what they've got out of it. And even if I know people don't want massive consoles, but even if you looked at maybe having, I know the X is kind of the same sort of size as the S, but maybe a bit sort of wider. Is it a bit longer? Is it a little bit sort of to compensate, or is it roughly the same size?
No, I think it's the same size. It might even be a little bit smaller.
Really? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So, I mean, even if you look at what the original, the first batch of Xbox Ones size-wise was...
Yeah.
Use that extra space for a bit more power. If it's beneficial, which it was pretty much dead space with the original Xbox, wasn't it?
They were scared, weren't they? They didn't want red rings again.
Exactly,
I think.
Exactly. So if Sony, kind of as lovely as the PS4 design is, maybe go a bit more boxy like the Xbox, and utilise a bit more space and go, there's your PS5. coming out at, Christmas 2019 or, start of 2020, it'd be...
wow.
I think it'd put the cat among the pigeons, because, as people are saying at the minute, there's not much that Microsoft have to play in terms of games at the minute, do they? So, we know there's Crackdown coming, but, first-party exclusives are kind of thin on the ground for Microsoft at the minute. So if Sony can have a strong lineup with PS5, for example, come 2019, I think Microsoft might be scrambling again. Definitely, I think it'd be a bit maybe 2020 for Microsoft, given the X just come out. But I think Sony will be definitely looking to jump on board with something a bit more powerful than the Pro. Definitely.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I hadn't really thought about that. I mean, it's really kind of... I mean, you would think that Sony would have to take some leaves out of Microsoft's playbook here, where they would have to say, right, PS4 Pro becomes the PS4, and then the new one, backwards compatible. So you could take your PS4 games and stick them into your PS5, and then you get shinier graphics. Similar to what Xbox is doing now. They'd have to do something like that. So if 2019, Christmas 2019, you could still play your PlayStation 4, but that's a Pro. So your checkerboard 4K HDR off the box, that's your kind of, that's the equivalent to the kind of the default, the only PlayStation 4 that's out there. And then you have this PlayStation 5. Yeah, no, that's quite interesting. I think Microsoft would be foolhardy, brave to even mention the words new console for a good couple of E3s, because we've had the S, we've had the X, and I'm sure that listening to all the interviews that have come out about the X, and I listened to a lot because I thought the guy Albert Pinello was really interesting. They've been working on that for years. They've been working on that. Before the S came out, they were working on the X. And I think maybe just after they shipped the Xbox One, they were looking at the X. So they must be kind of thinking about the next console. But all the goodwill that they're generating right now with the X, as you're right, and as Phil Spencer has said, they need to bring out games. They need to get games out there. And then, we've got Crackdown, we've got PUBG coming in a couple of weeks' time, we've got Sea of Thieves, we've got another Halo soonish. Come on, and then
we need something more.
Exactly, a new Viva Pinata. I wish. So it's just, oh god, I think I've already threatened that if that ever happened, I'd run to Tricross and hug everyone. So
would you hold James hostage as well? Yeah, I'll take sheep. Make it happen, or I'll take sheep.
James wouldn't be able to look me in the eye for like the 2 years of development. No. It would just be like, I'll just be this big bubble of excitement. But anyway, so that's really interesting. I hadn't really thought about it. It's really funny because having the Pro and the X, it's kind of I'm satisfied now. So I haven't thought about beyond, I haven't thought about what we're going to get in the next couple of years or where it's coming. So,
and the Pro doesn't have a 4K Blu-ray player, does it not? I don't think. Am I right in saying that?
No, it doesn't. No, because Sony kind of bank all of their digital online for, like Sony Select and things like that.
Yeah, so even going, just for other purposes, the X has got a 4K drive in it. So, again, tapping into what Microsoft are wanting to do, it's everything in one box. You want 4K Blu-rays, you've got it there. So I think, again, maybe they've dropped the ball a little bit there, Sony. I think, like you said, they're promoting their own digital libraries, but... Again, I think people want Blu-ray discs and 4K, don't they? With the quality we can get off Blues these days, it's. I think people like me with slow internet downloading a 4K movie or a 4K TV program, you're gonna have to say, "We'll watch that weekend and start downloading it on Monday." I think to actually make it halfway through. So yeah,
this is so cool.
Yeah. Be interesting to see, like you say, you don't really think about it much at the minute, do you? When you've got everything going on with, like you say, when you've got such a good variety of consoles and games, you don't really want to think about what's next, but it's bound to happen. It's bound to happen.
Absolutely. So. It must be the first time ever where I haven't been going, oh, I wonder what next, because it's like, if I sit down right now, I've got a bevy of games to play. I've got, even though, we were saying Microsoft are a bit starved for titles, I've got a bevy of games to play on all platforms, and I'm just never stuck for something to play. If it's the other way around, I've got, too much to play and I haven't got enough time. So it's one of those things. I guess it's, you've just got a new console, so you don't really want to think about new stuff. But it's kind of one of the first times I'm quite surprised by myself where I'm not looking into the distance thinking, oh, I wonder what's coming next. Because, like I say, I've been playing some really good games.
Yeah, it's a good year. Good year.
It is indeed. It is indeed. I mean, one of the games I've been playing this week is I finished the Star Wars Battlefront 2 campaign. Ooh. So I finished that, which was really good. I enjoyed it. I really like that game. It's a good game. It's a good single-player campaign. I enjoyed it. As a Star Wars fan, as a gaming fan, I enjoyed it. Got all the way through. Really enjoyed it. One of the things that there was just a little bit too much, only because I'm terrible at it, was there's too many flying missions. So I do like the Call of Duty campaign. They mix things up. You might be in a tank, then you might be kind of on foot, and then you'll go and fly, and you'll get these in Call of Duty campaigns. Star Wars Battlefront 2 does the same thing, where there's one part of a level when you're in an ATST, and then there's another one where I don't think you're in an AT-AT or an AT-AT, but then you go TIE fighters and X-Wings, and there's just too much of the flying, and as I said on the podcast previously, I just take off and instantly I'm upside down, and they weren't fun levels to get through, but the sum of its parts I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed Urso, who is the main protagonist that you play in for probably about 60% of the game you play as her. The other kind of 40% you're playing as classic characters. And one level which just filled me full of joy. You were playing as Lando Calrissian, but you had this new character called Shriv, who is this just sassy talking alien, and he is just absolutely superb. And there was one bit where you're just playing as Lando Calrissian and Shriv, and the banter that was going back and forth between these two was almost like a Sully and a Jake, from Uncharted. It was fantastic. It was really good, and it was just kind of flowing back between the two of them. And I really enjoyed that level, in so much so that I was always thinking about, I'll just restart it and play it again. It was on Solus, and it was just great fun. It was just a really good level, and I really enjoyed that. The game, I won't spoil it, obviously, because we're always trying to keep all this sort of stuff under wraps, but the game finishes. It just finishes in a way that had you like, you kind of had that moment. And this is what I was talking about last week, where I was missing from Call of Duty. I had the feelings with this. I had the feels, I kind of finished and I was like, okay. And it was good. I was surprised that it ended the way it did. Liked the ending. Hopefully could potentially have more. Who knows, but I don't know, with the whole Star Wars Battlefront 2 with it up in the air. I don't know if we're going to get more story DLC, but I really enjoyed it. It was a really good game, and and looked stunning all the way through.
Yeah, are you over Han Solo with a beard yet, or you still need time to get over that?
Well, it still pangs me. It really does. I look at that picture every now and then and go, "What?"
What's he doing?
Thing was. Yeah, exactly. The only good thing was my wife, who doesn't have the best eyesight. She goes, "Oh, he looks a little bit like you," and I was like, "Yep, I like him now."
I'll take that. Yep. Yeah.
I'll take that. That abomination of Han Solo looks a bit like me. Yeah, I'll put that on my resume.
Yeah. I've been likened to Han Solo once before.
Yes. Yeah. So finished Star Wars Battlefront. I'm still jumping into every now and then I'm mixing up with Forza and Star Wars Battlefront, like in the mornings, for a bit of gaming. So I'm enjoying playing an online match or Forza, have a quick race going through the championships, and they're really good. Still haven't paid any money. I haven't used any microtransactions, and I've unlocked almost all of the characters. I think I just got Darth Vader and the Emperor. I think it might be the Emperor. I've got just about 2 or 3 characters left to unlock, but I'm not. I'm just unlocking them when I can amass enough money from playing on the multiplayer. But yeah, enjoying that a lot.
Yeah, how many hours have you actually sunk into it then to actually unlock them? That's the big question there, isn't it? Given what happened.
It really is, and obviously there was a patch that came out and they got and it decreased. I'm just going to have a quick look on my Xbox app, because if I look on my Xbox app and go to my achievements, it will probably tell me kind of how long I've been playing Star Wars Battlefront. So I've got 32% of the achievements. I have been playing it for 14 hours.
Oh, so that's not bad then, is it really? Considering that they thought it'd have to be 40 hours just for one.
Yeah.
So whether or not they've... See, that's the thing, though, is have they now reduced it too much, though? That's the thing there, isn't it? That 14 hours will be story as well. That'll be campaign as well as multiplayer, won't it? So whether or not they've reduced the unlock criteria too much or not. That'll be another thing now, won't it? There's no sort of reward for playing for a longer period of time. But
I love it. I love the Xbox app, because you just go to achievements and it starts ranking you amongst your friends. You know, I can see that Stuart from the Just Had Popcorn. I can see that he's ahead of me in score, you know, so that pangs me. So that means I'm going to be playing tonight just to beat that guy.
As soon as we've finished recording, that's where he's going.
Exactly. I'm just going to play it just to beat Stuart. Yeah. Damn you, Stuart. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it. So Star Wars Battlefront. So I've done that, like I say, still playing with that multiplayer. I've got it digital, so it's just so nice just to be able to kind of switch. And then the other thing that I've been playing, segue, is I've been playing Doom on the Switch. I've been playing Doom. So I got it from Boomerang, you know, our unofficial sponsor of the podcast.
Our main source of gaming goodness.
But you know, similar to what you were saying with like Mario and Rabbids, having Boomerang, and I really should tweet to them like in our weekend tweets, is just to say like, hey, you know, we talk about you guys a lot.
Send us free things. Please send us free things.
Yeah, could you up my subscription to 3 at once, please? So you know, the great thing about Boomerang is like, for you Mario Rabbids, for me Doom, I wanted to see what Doom looked like on the Switch. I wanted to play it. I've already finished the game. I played the game on Xbox One, but I wanted to just see what it was like on the Switch. So I just rented it from Boomerang. You know, played it for the weekend, so loaded it up, had a commute, played it. You know, had a look, put it in and docked it in the TV, loved it in handheld mode, played really well. And I think I got probably about halfway through the game, and I was like, yeah, okay, I'm done now, because I'm done. You know, I've experienced this game. This is when it starts getting a little bit tricky, so I'll come out now. And then I thought, no, I've seen it, and I'm amazed. You know, anyone who says that the Switch is underpowered, you know, this thing... It's amazing. You know, it looks incredible. Occasionally, there might be a little bit of blurriness, but it works so well. You know, I'm hoping that this is a wake-up call for the likes of Ubisoft and EA to say that actually you can port the games over, and I'll be really interested to see how Castle Wolfenstein next year, or Wolfenstein 2, how that fares on the Switch as well. But Doom on the Switch was a graphical gorgeousness.
Yeah, and I'm the same. I've got it on there to be rented to come out next, and I'm like you say, I'm glad that the Switch is getting the support of these sort of, you know, bigger titles, as it were, and, you know, not sort of casual games, as it were, because, I mean, looking at between that and Wolfenstein, you know, there's some quite hardcore content in there, isn't there? So it's good to see that that's coming to the console as well. I mean, it's clearly powerful enough. You know, we've got LA Noire that came out last week as well, which again I'm waiting to rent it, and Skyrim, which I'm not interested in because I've played enough Skyrim to fill me up, but just to see the Switch running these things in a handheld format as well, more than anything, you know, albeit like I say, a little bit blurry, a little bit downscaled, it can do it clearly. Otherwise, it wouldn't come out, would it? You know, so it's good to see them, maybe not in the finest form, but in some form at least on a Nintendo console. So again, like say, maybe it wakens bigger developers up, but by the same token, Nintendo can go, well, look, we've had these 4 games run on the console. Yeah. Just downgrade it, you know, it'll happily support it. And, you know, even if you had a game that had more than one cartridge, you know, it's hardly a hardship having that, given the size of them, is it? You know what I mean? Just to swap a cartridge over doesn't, you know, it's no hardship, is it? So, I'd be interested to give it a whirl myself. You know, like you said, albeit a bit blurry in places. I've not played Doom to start with, so for me that will be my probably one and only experience with Doom. But just to play it on the go would be quite interesting.
Yeah, but absolutely. I mean, you know, as well as saying kind of it was a little bit blurry, there's something amazing about having that graphic fidelity in your hands. You know, I know Breath of the Wild was amazing, but it was still kind of a little bit, you know, it was a little bit cartoony, it was a little bit kind of anime, it was a little bit Nintendo, and Mario's the same. There's some times I'm playing Mario, I'm up in Bowser's castle, and, you know, that's what we were talking about before, and it's like an oriental castle, and there's some really gorgeous coloured clouds, and I keep wowing and taking pictures of that because but this full kind of, you know, the full experience of Doom in a handheld it's just something that cannot be scoffed at. So I know you kind of play a mixture of both, of handheld and TV, but definitely check Doom out in the handheld, because there's something like you kind of realise that this is a big boy console in your hands, and and there's something quite special about it. So it was really cool. And like I say, I showed it to a guy at work, and he was just blown away by it. He was like, I didn't know it could do those graphics. And again, it's that, it's a Nintendo console, so it just does Nintendo. And if you're looking from the outside and you're not schooled or versed in how amazing Nintendo gameplay is, you can always be kind of mistaken that it's a little bit kiddie. But then I think it was a wake up for him seeing something like Doom that he's seen on his PlayStation 4 on the Switch, because I thought it then went from being, I could buy that for my son, to, I could buy that for me and my son, and it went to that sort of stuff. So it was really interesting. It was really interesting to see kind of other people's reactions to it as well.
Yeah, because now you'll find, like say, you'll find people saying, we could buy that for our, for the little one. And it's like, there's a really hidden meaning that we could buy that and I'll play it while he's in bed, sort of thing. Like you say, it's until you see it, you don't know, though, do you? 'Cause like you say, because it's not been advertised in that way. So it has been advertised predominantly to play the Mario games, but because it's not had them, they haven't really been able to use that. But like you say, now people see it. It's kind of, a cliche to say it, but you need to see it to believe it, don't you? So it'll be interesting to see what they do. And again, with just the first party stuff, the likes of, Pokemon game, again, it's not, a game in terms of graphical capacity like Doom is, but beyond what we're used to with Pokemon, it's probably going to blow people's socks off, isn't it? So, it'll be interesting to see what they do next year and going into 2019 as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's quite interesting. We haven't got it in the news section, but I did see today there was a rumour going around that Microsoft, that Nintendo will be holding a Direct in February. So early February. I think this is kind of what we were talking about previously, where in another pod where we were saying they need to come out at the start of 2018 and say, this is what you're getting this year. They can't repeat the stellar year that we've had this year, and if they did, they'd be like, wow, but there was, like I say, there's no strong facts. We'll probably report on it next week, but there is a rumour that there's going to be a Nintendo Direct in February 2018.
Yeah, and they do their own thing, don't they? They have some presence at the likes of E3, but they're quite intent on doing their own thing, which it works. It seems to be working for them. But for me, I think, given that we've had GameCube support recently on the Switch, I think they're going to be going Virtual Console. Surely they have to. Given what's been out on 3DS and so successful, just having even just playing like the old Pokemon games on your Switch. Again, albeit in a a small, even if there's like some remakes of that stuff, that'd be really good, and they'll have the GameCube stuff running, so you can play Sunshine on your Switch. Imagine that. Yay. That's a novel thought, isn't it? But can you imagine that, having like Sunshine and Luigi's Mansion next year, like in the GameCube games, like that's me done. That's me. That could be my console for the year then. Because yes, I've got the GameCube, but some of those games are really expensive on the GameCube, by the way. The original copy. So if you can get the digital version or sort of a little bit of a remade version on your Switch, I'd be straight there. I'd be on board with that, because they're not going to take up too much space, are they? Because the GameCubes on the mini disc, weren't they? So they're not going to be fighting for space on your internal memory or your memory card. So I think they have to do that, and that will put them in a really good position for the rest of the year, I think.
I would think that maybe if this rumour is true, and like I say, we'll report more on it next week, and also I think it may just be after the pod next week, but we'll have the Video Game Awards as well, so they might show something there. But, if that Nintendo Direct does happen in January, February next year, I think they need to spend at least half of that Direct needs to be about Virtual Console, about their online offering. And because, they did say you're not getting anything this year, it's all free, but they are going to come next year. They're probably going to go, right, okay, here's Nintendo Online. It's going to cost you, $25 a year or something like that, and then here's your free games that you get, similar to Games of Gold, and also here's a Virtual Console. And if they had Luigi's Mansion, that would be the first game that I downloaded, the GameCube version. I'd love a remake of the the Game Boy, the 3DS that came out a couple of years ago. I'd love a remake, like a remastered, so it's on the big screen of that, because that game was amazing. That was a really good Luigi's Mansion.
Yeah, and they're both brilliant games, like saying. And if they're doing the online subscription, if they say you've got Virtual Console and you get one free game and one through that, like the games are gold. The PS Plus subscription. First month you join, you get like Sunshine or Luigi's Mansion free. Can you imagine that? How many subs they get from that alone? It'd be huge. And like you say, to have both GameCube games and 3DS games on there, you've got the ideal Nintendo, you've got the perfect Nintendo console between you, haven't you? So.
You really have, and and that's it, isn't it? It was just, oh god, I would just love that. And I love the idea of as much as like you and James and Manny and Matt and enjoy that kind of virtual or the retro consoles. I like the idea of having this virtual console and having these SNES, NES games with me on the Switch on the go. Downloading them for free, whatever. I just want it. Give it to me, Nintendo. Give it to me. I'll have a retro year next year. Just playing these games if Nintendo gonna make it happen. So that would be absolutely fantastic. Right, should we jump into the news?
Yeah, I think we've rambled enough now, haven't we?
Yeah, exactly. There you go. That's what we've been playing this week. So let's jump into these. But before we jump into the news, don't forget you can rate, review, and subscribe to this very podcast free on iTunes, YouTube, and other pod services around the globe. Let's start the news section. And in this week's news section, we have a breakdown of the free games for December, similar to what we were talking about just now. EA and Activision are under a bit of pressure, and Super Mario cereal is real. And that is our first piece of news, keeping on this Nintendo tip. This came out. It was a rumor. I love how breakfast cereal was a rumor, but this came out on Polygon yesterday. Nintendo have made a Super Mario cereal. Now this just fills me with so much joy. So this is just like you can eat Mario for breakfast. This is how good it is. So basically, Kellogg's and Nintendo have teamed up for a Super Mario cereal. So basically, what it looks like. I'll stick a link in the show notes if this show isn't this picture. But what it looks like is kind of like ricey stars, but then you've got some marshmallow, like one-ups, some marshmallow mushrooms, some of the square kind of boxes with a question mark. They're all in there. It's like marshmallows, like fruity kind of marshmallows. And this is just incredible. So this is Nintendo so Polygon broke the news, or they found it. I think it appeared on a Target list, a Target kind of shopping list. It appeared on one. It was like Super Mario cereal, but Nintendo have now announced that the cereal will be hitting stores in the US. Unfortunately, I don't think it'll be in the UK, but keep your eyes out. But it will be hitting the stores on December the 11th. You'll be able to get this Super Mario. I think it's called. Is it like Super Mario Odyssey or Super Mario Cereal? That's what it is. Now, the great thing about this, apart from obviously being a delicious and nutritious start to the day, it also, every box is an amiibo as well. Yeah,
so you get to play as a box of cereal in Super Mario Odyssey. Imagine that.
I don't know if you just like, because it says on the box art. Oh god, I want this to be the pod pick this week. It says every every Super Mario cereal box is an amiibo. You can use the unlock special content to power up your Super Mario Odyssey adventure. So whether this gives you more coins, it gives you some moons, or it gives you extra hearts or something, but you basically tap your Joy-Con to the box. It should be once you've eaten it all. You should, because when we were a kid, getting the toy and the cereal. But you basically, once you've finished your cereal, the box becomes an amiibo, and you just tap it, and you get extras in the game.
Yeah, I've just been reading the back of the box. It's not really clear, is it? So it doesn't really say if you get extra coins or extra hearts, or if you can actually waddle about. No. Waddle about worlds as a cereal box. Just sort of stomping around. Yeah. Can you imagine that changing
just like those
on
logs.
Your cereal box as well? So yeah,
that would just. Yeah. That would be so cool. But yeah, so it's just basically just unlocks specials. That's all it said. But this is something else. And I've just twigged. I'm going to be in the US when this is out.
Oh, you are, aren't you? Oh, you're gonna have to bring us all a box back. That's the only logical answer there. If it's not coming out in the UK, you're gonna have to bring some. Can you imagine trying to bring that back in your luggage? Why are you bringing cereal
just open
back?
up So there's you, Matt, Manny, James, and you, Matt, Manny, James. Yeah. So I've got to buy 5 boxes of Super Mario cereal.
You just have to take an empty suitcase with you just for cereal.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be like that crunchy nut cornflakes advert, aren't I? Where they're but it's such a great picture of a guy, actually, it's a woman kind of having her cereal, and there's the Nintendo Switch in front of her, and she's just, this just fills me with joy. But yeah, so Super Mario cereal is real. This is the kind of world we live in, and it's coming to the US on December the 11th.
I hope they bring it to the UK. They have to.
Oh,
can you imagine?
If not, I will.
Because of popular demand. Yeah, you could be like an importer. Can you imagine? Like you're running like an empire of importing Mario cereal to the UK and Europe. Like a black market of Mario cereal.
That's just going to be so cool. You can imagine how much that'll go for on eBay in this country.
Oh yeah.
People would go crazy for that, wouldn't they?
Yeah, I wonder how much it'd be per box anyway. Because isn't like cereal like food a bit more expensive in the States than it is here as well?
I don't know, but you're only looking at probably about $4 or $5 for that.
It's not too bad, is it, really? Like you say, but like people bring it back over, selling it for like $10 a box or something.
But it's definitely a thing. There was an update to this Polygon article. There's an update to it and saying that Nintendo have announced, Kellogg's and Nintendo have announced that it is true, it is real. We're living the dream, and this is actually happening, and it will be out on the December 11th. So there you go, Steve.
Looking forward to trying it when you come back, yeah.
There you go. I will do my best to feed the sparks. We'll have a pod where all of us are just sitting there eating cereal,
cereal and playing sunshine. That's the perfect podcast.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Living the dream.
So try and top that, sir, with your next story.
Yeah. So moving backwards ever so slightly onto what we were talking about, you playing Star Wars Battlefront is. EA have said they're not entirely giving up on microtransactions in Battlefront 2 and in future outings. So as we know, it's been well documented in the last week or so that the microtransaction option on Battlefront 2 has been greyed out, and the ability to unlock heroes has been reduced massively to make it more balanced and reducing the pay-to-win element. Now, that has had quite big ramifications on EA, which we'll come to again in the next piece. But in terms of Disney, have been putting a lot of pressure on EA allegedly to rectify this. But in a recent meeting or conference call, they've said they're not giving up on the notion of microtransactions. Now, what that will be, they said they haven't decided. But they don't seem to learn the lesson in this piece of news, which I know. They've got to make money. Every business has got to make money because nobody'd be in business if they didn't. But are they just trying too hard? Are they just trying too hard to turn a good franchise into just a typical EA cash cow? Which I think this is what, if the reports are true, Disney's trying to avoid, because they've already done a significant amount of damage with quite clearly the sales of the game. It's not as. I don't think. Is there an official announcement that it sold less than the first game? Is that a thing, or am I just making that up? Has that come out? Or
no, absolutely. I think we had it on the pod last week where we were saying that the first week of sales in the UK was significantly less than the opening sales for Battlefront. But I think since then, there has been I think it's like a 61% drop off from first week sales to the following week sales of EA. And it's really interesting because I do think when we were discussing it last week, I did say that, who's this going to affect? Because your average Joe who's buying video games, who's not listening to an amazing, awesome podcast like the Lost Spot Pod, but who's just not listening to podcasts, but just going into a store and buying games, they're going to see Star Wars and buy it. But by all accounts, I was completely wrong, and this is resonating beyond that, and it's like there's been a 61% drop off in sales. This Star Wars Battlefront of time of podding is not even in the top 100 games on Amazon.
Wow. That's ridiculous.
This is a scary thought because
that's ridiculous.
As I attested, it's a good game, but
that's a sad thing, though, isn't it? They've damaged the victim of their own success, or like what the other way around. They're a victim of their own maybe naivety. That they have a game with a massive franchise that could and would sell, but they can't even sell more than its predecessor. And it's not even in the top 100. If you look at those other games that are in that 100 that are beating it, it's shameful if they're not even in there. Do you know what I mean? It's incredible.
And we've got a big year. It's a big year for Star Wars this year. We've got Last Jedi in 2 weeks. I said, I'm very excited. But by all accounts, the news that came out was that Bob Iger, who is the Disney's chief executive, I think he got on the phone. The rumours, the news that is that Bob Iger got on the phone to the EA execs and just said, you're damaging our Star Wars brand. Cut it out. Fix it, and I think that's why they took that microtransaction site away the day before release, because there was enough people talking about it prior to release, and it was obviously the biggest downvoted on Reddit, etc. So there was enough of those people that Bob Iger just was like, it resonated up, and and your next story, it resonated even to their shares as well.
Yeah, and that's the next bit of news. There is that the share prices, EA as a whole, have plummeted. I'm just getting it loaded up now, but down 8.5% this month, which has taken off $3 billion off of its value, of EA's entire value, $3 billion. And for even for a company EA's size, that's not something to be sniffed at. That is a lot of money. And if you think that's, like you say, it resonates beyond just EA. If you think how many people now might just not, I don't think they would, but just not go see Star Wars because of that. Disney will be demanding so much money from them because of this, because you've damaged our box office sales for something that we banked on for, how big Star Wars at the minute. It's huge. It's one of the, that and Marvel are probably the biggest franchises in movies, in cinemas at the minute. So, yeah, like you say, again, it's down 61%, not in the top 100. It's going to have ramifications, but $3 billion off its value is just incredible. It's just wow. It's just ridiculous in terms of that, that resonates as EA as a whole, not just for the Battlefront game. So other games, other departments, other studios, I'm just thinking now, am I right in saying that they've shut one of their sort of smaller studios recently as well? Am I making that Visceral?
No, they shut Visceral, who was also working on a Star Wars game.
Yeah.
So if I was Bob Iger, I'd be taking Star Wars away from EA. I'd be like, okay, here's your money. I'm going to give this to Ubisoft or someone else, or God forbid, Activision. Give it to someone else. We're getting Assassin's Creed. Actually, an Assassin's Creed Star Wars game is probably what Amy Hennig was making, but But that's it. This $3 billion, was this $3 billion? Because they've also taken away microtransactions for Need for Speed as well, haven't they?
Yeah.
So they've shut down that. So I wonder if this $3 billion drop, this share dip that they've got, I wonder if that was their estimated, what they were telling all of the execs, that this is what they would be making from the microtransactions. Because we only heard a couple of months ago where Activision have made $3.3 billion on their microtransactions. So I wonder if this was like their estimated, watch this, we're going to release this Star Wars game, these guys go crazy for it, watch them buy all this stuff, and then we're going to increase revenue by X, and I think maybe that X is now being wiped off of their share of shares.
Yeah, and that just goes to show what sort of, how cynical they are in some respects, doesn't it? Because if they're banking on or predicting making £3 billion worth of revenue beyond just selling the game, that's a lot of dead money to gamers, isn't it, really? In terms of microtransactions, you don't really get anything for that because it's a loot box. You're not getting any maps, you're not getting any extra content, you're not even guaranteed anything from that money. So that, that like you say, that's probably going into the shareholders' back pockets, wasn't it? Or the big execs, we're going to make this much money, we're going to have a good Christmas this year, but not anymore. And again, just looking at this article, these sort of things now are being investigated by governments, by authorities, by gambling commissions, to see, are loot boxes gambling, which, you could see why they'd be classed as gambling. You know, you're paying money for something that you're not getting a guaranteed outcome for. You know, it's the same as buying a scratch card, putting the lottery on, you know, putting money on a horse race. And, you know, it's the exact same thing. You're putting money into something that you're not guaranteed to get a product or a result from. So, you know, it'd be interesting to see what actually comes out of this, because if this changes the industry, it's going to be a massive thing, because, you know, if they say you can't have this now because obviously games are sold to a wide audience and gambling's obviously for 18 plus. You know, I think it was Star Wars 16 rated from Peggy. Am I right in saying that? Or was it 18 or? But
no, it's lower. It's probably it's probably Peggy 12. I don't think, because there's not, apart from obviously the shooters, but I don't think it was an 18. No. I'm just going to check. I'm going to fact check while you're chatting.
Yeah, because there'd be no swearing or anything. It would there. But if you think if a game, because it's got loot box in it, as counted as gambling, goes from a 12 to an 18 rated game, that's taking that game away from a big audience. You know, I mean, games obviously still get into the hands of minors through parents and, you know, from buying online, that sort of thing. But, you know, if this changes things for the game industry, it's going to have bigger implications and wider implications in terms of what games can and can't be, and what rating and classification they have to be. You know, I mean, personally, if you look into it, if you think about it, FIFA, with its Ultimate Team set, you know, mode, you know, with those packs that you buy in there, that could easily be gambling. You know, kids are buying Ultimate Team points and packs just for better players, you know, to play online. You're not getting anything physical from it, you're not guaranteed anything from it, but they put so much money into Ultimate Team against EA again. You know, it's EA again, you know, not wanting to draw too much attention to them, but, you know, their processes and their, you know, mechanics and systems, you know, are geared up for microtransactions and additional revenue, aren't they? So it'll be interesting to see what happens. So again, like you say, to see if Disney officially make an announcement to say having anything to do with Star Wars again.
Yes, we've taken that off them.
Yeah, it's gone.
Because I wonder, because they cancelled Visceral, they cancelled that game. They did say that the game hasn't gone. They've closed down Visceral, but they did say that the game hasn't gone. It's just they're going to turn it into more of a Destiny, you know, more of a, what's the game? They've got a game coming out, haven't they? EA, which is a bit like Destiny, that they showed at E3.
Oh,
I remember,
yeah. I can't remember.
I remember Darren being like really super excited about it. We were both like really excited about it when they showed it. It was like Eden or something like that. But so they said that they haven't cancelled it, but they're taking it away, but they haven't given any release date. So whether that is they're going to show it next year or it's not going to come out for another 4 years, you know, it's like, okay, you got a 10-year license deal with EA, with Star Wars. What are you doing with it? You're wasting it by not making more games. You're wasting that potential, you know. So, but you're right. Fact checking. I'll go back to what you're saying. Star Wars Battlefront is a 16. It's a Peggy 16. So you're right. And at the time of podding, it's still $46.99 on Amazon. So Amazon are still selling it for $46.99 for the standard version on PS4 is still there, and the deluxe edition, the Elite Trooper, is $69.99. So they haven't discounted it yet, but I bet you the day after Boxing Day, the day after Christmas, if you're listening to this in the US, that will be heavily discounted. I bet you. You know, $19.99 my prediction for Star Wars Battlefront the day after Christmas on Amazon, or Christmas Day in the evening when they just drop all the prices.
They just plummet for no reason, Which at that price, I'd jump in. You know, I've not been avoiding Battlefront. You know, I've not got the best internet connection at the minute here. So, you know, being a predominantly online game, you know, I feel like I won't be able to experience the best things that it has. But for £20, you know, just have a quick blast through the campaign, you know, and have a dabble in the multiplayer. I think it'd be worth it. But I'd be hardly surprised, because, like you say, I like the likes of Amazon. I've got a lot of, you know, copies in, you know, from suppliers to meet what they thought would be a high demand, and now they'll just have a load of copies sat in a warehouse somewhere, just you know, probably just being used as coasters, you know, for the warehouse staff.
They're playing frisbees with it. Exactly. But I mean, that game isn't getting discounted before the Star Wars Battlefront Star Wars Last Jedi comes out. So that's not getting discounted before that. So that's why I predict the day after Christmas, that will be heavily discounted, I bet you. You know, because they're just, like you say, they want that corner of the warehouse back, so they want to shift those, and they want to get rid of those. So, but yeah, no, it's such a shame. But again, you know, EA loot boxes and microtransactions have been done well by other games and can be done well. So they just need to not be so greedy. They just need to, because they have seen that everyone loves Star Wars, everyone and they have just took it too far. And to get the exec of that franchise to call you and tell you to stop it, that's got to be a big kind of they're all just there going, oh, we're in trouble now.
It's a bit of a wake-up call, isn't it?
Yeah. So yes, right, the next piece of news is with me. This is a very quick one, and that is I got an email the other day, on Tuesday, telling me that Yooka-Laylee is finally coming to the Switch. So way back when, I think it was early part of this year, Playtonic, the makers of Yooka-Laylee, said that they were bringing out a Switch version, and I switched my Kickstarter backer from being an Xbox One code to a Switch code. So I switched it over, and they have now, so they keep saying it's coming, it's going to be play tested, we're working on it, but they have now finally given a date, and that date is the 14th of December. So 14th is a Thursday, the 14th of December, they will be releasing Yooka-Laylee for the Switch, and hopefully my backers code will be in an email that day as well. But that's going to come. So they're basically giving the latest build, the latest version of Yooka-Laylee with all of the bugs and issues, a lot of those ironed out. And they also said, quite interestingly, they've been working on single Joy-Con play across 8 multiplayer games. So they have multiplayer games. There's like a Klungo's Arcade, something similar to that was in like Banjo Nuts and Bolts. They've got this arcade where you can play multiplayer games. So they're doing single Joy-Con, 8-player multiplayer games, which would be great fun around the TV, kind of seeing that. And also, very interestingly, a topic we were maybe talking about last week, they also have brought a custom achievement system to the game as well.
Ooh, that's interesting. Yeah, because I know you touched upon that. You touched upon it in your message to the group as well, didn't you? About achievements on the Switch, which that be one of the first to have one, won't it? Inbuilt in its own little way. So have you played this before, or have you just been waiting for your back Kickstarter to come through?
I bought it on Xbox One when it came out. But there were so many issues with the game when it came out. The camera angle felt clunky and not even old school, because it just felt clunky. But they have since patched it, and one of the major patches has been the camera system and has been the way it moves, etc. So, but I haven't gone back to it on the Xbox One because I've been holding out for the Switch. So I'm going to use my backers code to put it on the Switch and have a look and see what it's like, and have a play on it. So that'll be kind of loaded up before I jump on a plane. I might have a play. If I get through Super Mario Odyssey, I can always just kind of jump over to maybe an inferior platformer of Yooka-Laylee. But I want to see what it's like on the Switch. I want to see what it's like. I want to give it a go. These guys are, X-Rare guys. They're all kind of like Banjo-Kazooie, and Banjo-Tooie, but I'd like to give it a go on the Switch. It seems like it'll fit quite well on the Switch, but hopefully they've sorted that camera angle out, because it was making it a tough play when I was playing it on Xbox.
Yeah, have they said what it's going to retail at all, or is that kind of still under wraps at the minute, or is it just going to be full price again?
No, they didn't. They didn't say what the retail price was. They just said it's coming out on the 14th of December. So no retail price yet. So you could probably expect it to be $24.99.
Yeah, I think that'd be fair. It's not a big game, as it were, is it? So I think it'd be fair if it came out, and given it's a bit older, if it came out at a reduced price. Because again, it's something that I'd like to play. I've not played it on the Xbox, like you say, because I know from the reviews that came out at the time, like you say, there were a few well-documented issues with it when it first came out. So, and again, the Switch seems like a good platform for it, doesn't it? So,
yes,
be interested to see how it holds up, see what it looks like, and give it a whirl.
Yeah, absolutely. I just had a quick look, and there doesn't seem to be any pricing at the moment. But yeah, I reckon probably that kind of game on the Switch, kind of roughly gets about $24.99, I think. So that's probably it. So yeah, so it's coming out. So it'll be interesting to see. I'll report back after the Christmas break, and then I will let you know what it's like, and whether it's worthwhile or whether you should just delete it.
Yeah, avoid.
Yes, avoid or play. So next up is the free games free in quotes, obviously, because we do pay for these with our PS Plus subscription and our Games with Gold, but the free games for December. Starting with Games with Gold, bit of a strange month this month, actually. Bit of a weird month, because Xbox, let's just go through it. So Xbox Games with Gold this month, we've got Warhammer End Times Vermintide is going to be available from the 1st of December to the 31st of December. So that's a kind of Warhammer game. I think it's a bit kind of RTS strategy. I haven't played it. Have you played it? Have you seen it?
Not even heard of it. The only sort of Warhammer game that I knew came out of consoles was the one the Space Marine.
Right.
I don't even know what that is. I didn't even know that was a thing. I've never even heard of it.
No, exactly. And then we've got Back to the Future, the game, the 30th anniversary edition. So that's from Telltale Games. So that was like Telltale before they were any good. So that's coming out. That's going to be available from the 16th of December to the 15th of January. And then over on Xbox 360, backwards compatible, obviously, on the Xbox One, we've got Child of Eden. Now that's quite a good game. That's a kind of a rhythm action game, which is quite cool. I think it was like Kinect enabled when it first came out, but I think it's now kind of controller basis where you're kind of shooting things. It's very trippy, very cool. And then we also have Marlowe Briggs and the Mask of Death as well, which and that's the 16th of December to the 31st of December. And I actually read that as like Mavis Beacon and the Mask of Death, which is a typing game, but no. So what we've got, Marlowe Briggs and the Mask of Death. So it's a weird month. It's a weird month for Games with Gold.
Yeah, it seems it's probably the weakest one they've had for a long time there, isn't it? I mean, I'd get Back to the Future, Telltale game, because that's one of my favourite movies of all time. Like you say, it's not Telltale at their finest, because they think it was still early. Was that the first one that they did, Back to the Future, was it? Am I right in saying that? I think it was quite... If not, it was
either Back to the Future or Jurassic Park.
Yeah, it was very early either way, wasn't it? So I think I've played it before, and it's like you say, it's not the best, but for me, it's just fan service for Back to the Future, because I love that, and it's kind of it's a bit after the movies as well, isn't it? So it's set in a, when Doc's gone back to a different time, so it goes beyond what the movies offered. So that'll be one for me. But the other three, no. Like you say, Child of Eden with a 360 game with Kinect. Didn't play it. Yeah. First one and the last one, I've never even heard of them. Even for maybe download them for free. But to me, I thought they were going to be at least having one sort of, for want of a better phrase, big or bigger game, be it a 360 game or an Xbox One game that was free. Yeah. So what the classing as the bigger game in that bunch, I'm not entirely sure.
And it's really bizarre, actually, because if you think about it, there's going to be a lot of new consoles over Christmas. So a lot of people getting Xbox One X's, Xbox One S's, just new Xbox gamers coming into that ecosystem. In every box, you get like a couple of months or a couple of weeks free of Xbox Live. So the first thing they're going to do is go to the Games with Gold, and then when you look at the Games with Gold and see that, you're like, that's not worth it, because that's the ones that are going to be on Front Street. They're going to be the ones this month. So you'd expect for December that there would be like Gears of War 4 or something like that. But yeah, so it's just really interesting to see how they're kind of downplaying that. But speaking of Gears of War 4, coming to and this is probably why they're downplaying it, coming to Games Pass this month. So coming into the Games Pass system, which is that Netflix for gaming on Xbox, you have Gears of War 4. So we've got Gears of War 4. We've also got Darksiders War Master Edition. So this is the original Darksiders. We've also got The War of Mine, the little ones, Mega Man 10, Mass Effect 3. So those titles are all coming into the Games Pass. So are we seeing, especially this month, it looks like that the Games Pass is a little bit stronger than Games of Gold this month on the Xbox side of things.
Yeah, I mean, and for not wanting to sort of beg for free stuff, but like you say, at a time of year when people are going to be getting the console, and that's going to be a time where they think, oh yeah, Gold's worth paying for, you'd want something more than that, or maybe even just like a free month of game. If they're making Game Pass a bigger thing, say, with your Games Gold, you get a free month of Games Pass, And I say, those 4 games or 5 games you mentioned there, Gears of War 4 is worth a playthrough on its own, surely, with that free month.
Yeah.
For whoever out there hasn't played Mass Effect, before, to give that a whirl. So maybe just, a free trial of Games Pass, just to say, as a thank you, for being an Xbox fan at the minute, which I know they're making a big thing of, to just get on board with it.
Or a welcome, welcome to the family, you now come over. But it doesn't get any better, because over on PlayStation, so PlayStation have showed their games as well, and I like it when they're close together so we can report on them on the same pod. Thank you very much, PlayStation and Xbox. So we have the PS Plus games for this month. And the PS Plus games for this month, we have Darksiders 2, the Definitive Edition. So we have that, which was the PS3, Xbox 360 game, but this was the one that had been tarted up, so this was the HD remake. So we have that, not bad. I won't mind jumping in to see what it's like. We then have Kung Fu Panda Showdown of Legendary Legends.
Yeah.
It's like, I've never even heard of this game. And obviously, you still got the PS Plus bonuses, which is Until Dawn Rush of Blood, which is the VR game. And also, That's You is still in that PS Plus bonus. It doesn't seem to want to go away. And then we also have X-Blaze Lost Memory on PS3. Siberia Collection. Again, I'm shaking my head at these on PS3. Forma 8 on PS Vita and PlayStation 4. And Wanted Corp on PS Vita. So, again, I'm the same as you. I don't want to look a gift horse in the mouth, but I don't want to kind of seem down on it. But not a stellar month for the bonus games. Let's call them bonus games instead of free games. Not a stellar month for the bonus games, I think.
No. You're scraping the barrel when your biggest sort of selling point's Kung Fu Panda. I mean, like you said, Darksiders 2, great game. It's worth a play. Like you say, a tarted up version of it on the new consoles. Yeah, worth it. But is that a seller for your subscription service that's gone up in price? That's gone up, and again, people have got to make money, and business have got to make money. But that's now £60 a year, isn't it now?
Yeah.
Rather than, it's gone up by £10 over gold for Microsoft. So, they've got to entice people in. And I know they always have the 12 days of Christmas sales, the both of them. But that's not going to get you subscriptions at the end of the day. And for me personally, it's pointless giving Vita games for free. Surely people may have Vitas just for a collector's piece, but are they going to play that anymore? I keep my subscription going for a free Vita game of all maybe 20 that actually came out for the Vita. It's only a sort of a finite number, isn't it? I suppose of PS3 games and PS4 games. So, yeah.
It's bizarre.
Yeah, you can't fathom it, can you? There's got to be something somewhere that both of them are planning, but what is it?
Yes.
What have they got up the sleeve? Because they have to have it. They can't not capitalise on Christmas sales, and Christmas revenue from new console sales. So, yeah, it's tricky.
But maybe you're being smart there, where like you say, don't give good games at Christmas, but make sure that on the dashboard you're emblazing the dashboard with your sales. You can get all of these games for, if you're PS Plus member, you can get 45% off of Uncharted and things like that. So maybe you're right. Maybe they're downplaying those because they want to upscale the sales.
Yeah, and they're going to have some good sales because they always do, don't they? Over Christmas. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. Even if they did like an advent calendar thing, like you said, 12 days of Christmas, but they give something free every day of that, not necessarily games, but something more than what people are getting now.
Yes. Yeah, because I quite look forward to when you get those emails or when you get those announcements come out that say, here, the games are gold or the PS Plus games are, and I looked at them, I was like, that's a bit weird. It was just like, it wasn't like, say, like, I will download the Definitive Edition just because I haven't played that, and I'll download that and have a look, but that's pretty much it, I think, for me. That's the only one I'll play.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even have a running PS Plus subscription anymore. I've got my gold.
Right.
Because most people I know play on Xbox anyway. And usually, gold is better in terms of the free games that they give you. But yeah, between those two, you really, what is it? I've forgotten its name now. Darksiders, that's the one. I'm going to say Death Riders, Darksiders 2, and between that and Child of Eden on Xbox, you've got a brilliant Christmas there lined up, haven't you? So, yeah.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, on that note, we're leaving for Christmas, so we'll see you in January, yeah.
Superb. Right, Steve, the next piece of news is with you, sir.
Yeah, and I feel like I'm being a bit negative on this podcast, but I feel like I'm bringing bad tidings at what's nearly a festive year, given it's December tomorrow, but Destiny 2. It seems that people aren't having an easy ride at the minute in terms of online progression and microtransactions. So Destiny 2, there was due to be a live stream this week of the last sort of stream before Curse of Osiris released, to show people what it's about, what it's got in it, what sort of content's going to be in there, but it got pulled. Now, the reason for that being, Destiny 2 has been discovered to contain a hidden system which slows progression down towards your next free bright engram. Now, needless to say, that's gone down a bit like a fart in a lift, so... It's a bit cynical, in a different way to what EA has been with the microtransactions, but it clearly is a way to get people wanting to maybe buy progression in Destiny 2.
Right.
I've not played much Destiny 2, so I don't know if that's a possibility, but to slow...
I don't think you can.
To slow...
I don't think...
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
No, I was going to say...
Yeah. But to slow or hamper your progression towards your next unlock that's a bit cynical, to slow people down in what they're doing, to have that system purposely just at the point where you're going to get your next progression or your next engram or your next free thing, or your free item. If anything, you'd want to surely expedite that process a little bit to get that reward a little bit sooner, to get people hooked and say, oh, I got my next, exotic piece of armor. I'm going to, really struggle or grind to get my next one. So you would have thought, if anything, the closer you got, the quicker it may be to pull you in a little bit and then say, oh, you need to go again. So
is this happening when you're kind of repeating the same strike or the same stuff like that? Are they saying that when you do it again, you're not getting as much XP?
Yeah, so...
Because obviously, your XP bar, once you get to the top light level, you stop kind of leveling up. But every time you fill that light or fulfill that bar again, you then get a light engram. And then you can then go to the wherever it's called, you go to the platform and you can trade that in, and then you can get cosmetic gear or you can get gear. So is that kind of so to try and grind and try and get something good in that engram, is that what they're saying, that you're not getting as much XP?
Yeah, so the official statement was, this basically describes how it works. So currently XP will scale up and down when playing longer or fixed duration activities like Crucible, competitive multiplayer matches and the Leviathan raid, and XP will scale down when playing activities that can be quickly repeatedly chained, like grinding public events. We are not happy with the results, and we've heard the same from the community. So it's the shorter events that you can just quickly grind through that the XP's severely reduced. So, which I can kind of see why they might do it, to maybe to push people to explore more of the game. But again, by the same token, you're kind of putting people off by doing it. If you're reducing people's progression, it's going to turn them away from the game. So if anything, like I say, you don't want to do it too much, but surely reel them in a little bit with a sort of a rapid progression towards the end to hook them in for the next one. But effective immediately, they said they've deactivated it. Again, in a U-turn that EA's done, Activision's doing as well. So, in what was supposed to be an exciting time for them, with like the Curse of Osiris DLC coming out, it's quickly backfired. I don't see why these things are in place in some ways, but I do in another. But the limited things that the time I've played with Destiny 2, I liked it. It's a massive improvement over the first one. Given that it's not constrained by the last gen hardware. But again, given how it was mixed in terms of its first release, you'd want people switched on as much as they could for this game, which for some reason they've decided to put this mechanic and this system in place, which is like I say, in some ways it makes sense, in most ways it doesn't. So so that's been turned around with immediate effect. So they've done the same as EA, taken feedback on board, which it shows the power of the likes of social media, Reddit. In a way it's good, but I think in some ways as well, we need to be careful what we do here. You know, I think gamers have too much of a voice at the minute, because if they have a vision, you know, then they should stick to it. You know, it's, you know, there's been certain circumstances where certain developers and companies have changed things because people aren't happy. You know, if you look what they did with, or tried to do with Devil May Cry, you know, they weren't happy with the protagonist changing. Infamous did it as well. They weren't happy with what they'd, you know, sucker punched with Infamous. So, you know, they altered the appearance of the characters. So again, yes, gamers don't want their experiences changing, but by the same token, this is somebody's piece of art, in effect. You know, this is their job, this is their vision, their creativity. They're the ones who should have the final say as to what's going on with it, as long as it doesn't damage. Like you know, like for example, I'm agree with people in terms of what EA have done with Star Wars. Don't do that, but I think we need to be careful in what we're saying, how we voice things, and to what extent feedback is taken on board and acted on.
Yes, absolutely. I think you're absolutely spot on there. And I think one of the quotes that came from, is it Deej at Destiny 2, who is the public face of Destiny 2. I think one of the things that he said, and it's always things that I find even in my job is like lessons learned, and I think his lessons learned from here is that to be more transparent with the community, because I think they've skirted around this. They haven't kind of been forthcoming with this information, that if you keep playing these public events, as you were saying, that it just keeps dropping off, where they need to say that, you know, they need to come out and say that. They need to be more transparent. And you know, and Activision and Bungie, more importantly, have always been quite transparent. So it's quite, it's strange that they're kind of keeping that quiet, but I think they've learned the lesson. They're obviously the angry mob have come away from Star Wars. They've now focused on Destiny 2. And you're right, you know, we do have to be careful, because again, as I was saying a couple of weeks ago, maybe not all of these people that are kind of this angry about all of this have even probably played Destiny 2 or have stopped playing Destiny 2. You know, you always hear, I'm not going to play this anymore, and then that person's back online. You know, and they still, obviously, you know, it looks like they may have actually kind of spoken with their wallets in the case of Battlefront, but you know, it's really interesting to hear about that with Destiny 2. And you're right, it kind of does mar it slightly, because right now there's a free demo on PlayStation, Xbox and PC of Destiny 2, quite a nice chunky demo of Destiny 2, doing a lot of the systems on there, so there's a nice chunky piece. And obviously they've got Curse of Osiris coming out next Tuesday as we pod, so it's a couple of days and change away, and that's going to get the bump with HDR and 4K, so it should be an exciting time for Destiny. But instead, you know, we're on unsettled waters right now, but hopefully it doesn't hurt it too much.
No, well, that's it, and it's different to EA, because, you know, there's no sort of monetization hook there for Bungie and Activision, but by the same token, you know, like you say, it's just more of switching people off, and like you say, a bit deceitful in a way, because like you say, Bungie have got a good name for themselves. You know what they did with Halo. You know, they've been quite transparent over you know, the course of years with that franchise and what they've done. So, yeah, it just seems a bit weird. Yeah, it doesn't ring true. But hopefully, like you say, for the likes of you guys, you know, playing Destiny and going back in when there's new content available.
Yes.
You know, some people could easily be switched off by that. You know, because not everyone gets the season pass or the higher edition to get included. You know, the content included. So they could just say, "Well, I'm not that interested anymore." Which again, it'll be interesting to see if it really does make people pay with their wallets in terms of going for the extra content or not.
Absolutely. You can imagine someone who's trying to get their light level, trying to do stuff, trying to get the gear. They've been grinding, doing these public events, not realising that they haven't been given enough XP. You know, you hear this, you read this, and then it could just be, I'm done with this game. You know, I'm going to take my game back to Game or CEX and trade it in. You know, you can imagine. And from then, it won't be so much the kind of the games bought, but the kind of the active players, and then that will just kind of and like you say, because an active player is a potential hook to the next piece of content. So you know, exactly. that's an interesting one. We'll keep an eye on that over the next couple of weeks and see how Curse of Osiris kind of beds down next week.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll be playing it and be raring to discuss it come next time or before you go on holiday, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Yes. It comes out next Tuesday. I think I'm away Tuesday, but I'll be around on Wednesday, and then I'll just like have a quick go. I want to see what it looks like in HDR and 4K. That's what I want to see. Yes. Because as you were saying, Destiny 2 already looks amazing. So having that in HDR would just be a nice little game. I can't wait to see it. Can't wait to see it. And that's about it for this episode. big thank you for listening. Big thank you, Steve, for pulling up on mic.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me again.
Thank you very much. Don't forget, you can keep up with us at gamersoflostspark.com. You can also find us on Facebook, on Twitter, we're at Lost Spark Pod. You can also find us on YouTube and the Gamers of Lost Spark PS4 community and Xbox One Club. Steve, where can people catch up with you?
So I am Steve Carter 91 on Xbox Live, Cartero on PSN, and Steve_Carter 91 on Twitter.
Awesome. And for me, I am Chessman on Xbox Live, PS-Chessman on the PlayStation Network, and Chessman UK on Twitter. Don't forget, if you have any feedback, please send it to our email address. That's feedback@gamersoflostspark.com. Right, we'll see you again next week. Catch you later.
Goodbye.
Say bye, Steve.
Bye.
Cheers.
Cue the music.
You've got
to play that instead of the actual outro music now.